Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report this weekend. Well, Brian, in that first roundtable, we talked a lot about, what's going on geopolitically, what's going on with some of the supplies that are setting right now in Ukraine. Will we get those supplies out? But as all of this uncertainty continues to weigh on the market, as we enter into this critical time for weather, forward contracting and some of those prices, is that something you're really encouraging producers to look at right now?
Yeah, Tyne, one of the things that we've looked at, and this was predominantly when we've been trading in that 730 to 750 zone, was really just the idea of doing some good cash sales. And if you wanted to be bullish with some calls. We had implemented some of the August short-dated options as far as calls. Typically, I would say most producers looked at the $8 strike price. And when you just did the math of making a sale and then assuming that call went to zero, it still puts your futures, worst case scenario, above $7. And that seemed to be a level that just made good sense based on the revenue that you can lock in. Now, we pulled back a little bit here. Still, $7 corn is a good price for corn. Now, one of the problems for the end user that we're seeing is that even though the board has come down substantially, if you look at those feeding cattle out west, board drops 40, basis gets stronger by 40 cents, and the cash price stays the same. So if if an end user has been hedged in an account in futures, they've experienced a loss in their account, they're still paying the same for their cash product. So that's where implementing option strategies to at least kind of keep a cap on things without having the flat price risk in the account has worked out very well for the end user.
As we look at some of these other commodities, Tommy, natural gas, when you look at prices there, we have just seen an impressive run up with prices. Not good news for the end user when it comes to that. But what's driving those prices? And as of right now, does it look like there's not a slowdown in sight?
Well, people probably laugh, but President Trump in that meeting, and he was our president, regardless of what people think, he went to Germany and told them, you have a problem. You are very dependent on Russia for energy. And they laughed at him. Go back and watch the clip. Here, fast forward 2 years, Europe is on the verge of a major energy crisis, and we're being told in America it's okay, just go buy a battery-operated car as long as you have 70,000 K for the average working person, and it'll fix it. So as gas prices, fuel, unleaded, start to hit $5.50, $6 in suburbs across America, you look at natural gas and propane, the world has plenty of stuff, but getting to it and getting through regulations and jumping through hoops is a real problem. As I sit today in North Dakota, trust me, we have plenty of fuel. It's just getting through the hoops to do it. So this was created by an administration, and it's egg on their face.
Well, when you look at some of these other outside markets, I mean, right now, we just finished talking about diesel prices and gas prices. And when you look at inflation and now talk of a possible recession, I mean, some of these outside markets, though, Brian, which ones are you watching closely that could have an impact on agricultural commodities?
I think the energy market, first and foremost, is the one that we're watching. When you look at new contract highs for RBOB, which is your unleaded gasoline, you look at new contract highs for heating oil, which would be a proxy for diesel. You look at the fact that OPEC agreed to increase production and about 50% more than what the trade was expecting. We had sold off from that and came back immediately to trade $5 to $6 off of that low. This market is concerned about energy. And as Tommy mentioned, this seems to be driven by, policy. You've got almost some of these investment banks are being shunned to the idea of lending money for any kind of fossil fuel exploration. So the green agenda has really put us in a pickle here for energy. Now, at some point, you're going to reach a breaking point, and I wonder if you're going to start to see some behaviors change, because gasoline around me is nearly $6 a gallon at the pump. And so for the average working person, the amount of money that it costs them to get to work right now is staggering. So it's something where the energy is going to be something moving forward for the producer, the cost to dry their corn next fall, especially if we have a late harvest or a wet harvest, the trucking costs. This is all eating into the big picture for them.
Yeah, and Tommy, as we see this rapid rise in input costs that farmers and ranchers are facing today, what's the likelihood that these input costs do remain high even in 2023? And what concerns do you have if grain prices don't hold?
Well, one of the things that people probably aren't paying attention to because they're so working so hard to get the crop in as the American farmer. Hats off, you're the best. And you did get it in, is that they're not paying attention to DEES 23, a combination of fertilizer prices that have traded down in the last few weeks, allegedly, assuming you could buy it. No one will really make a market yet, but fertilizers come down in DEES 23, 680 down to 615. Will you make money with $6 corn next year? Maybe a little, but I don't think you'll make a lot. So input prices are going up, rents are going up. There's nobody that doesn't know that things are good right now in ag, and we're going through a boom bust period. We're currently in the boom, probably the tail end of it. And within a few years, God willing, if we're on the show again, we'll say, remember that time we recorded in the 1st of June and corn had broke a lot that week and beans had rallied and wheat had broke, how great times were and the government was giving away money? And it will change, and we will go back to tough times again, because the whole world, Tyne, gets to make money in agriculture right now.
All right, Tommy, Brian, thank you so much for joining us this weekend. We appreciate it. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on U.S. Farm Report.